Welcome to The Lion Roars. Phil Margo, The Lion Roars, exclusively on MalcolmPresents.com. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Okay, so let me yesterday, I wasn't even aware of this. And I got a bunch of notices from my friends, from people I work with, from my son, that yesterday was the 60th anniversary of the actual recording of The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
60 years.
60 years ago. I recorded that song 60 years ago.
And you don't realize how that changed your life.
Well, I do realize, but I wasn't aware when we first started. The first song we sang was "Teenager in Love." We sang the background. Hank Medras and Phil Margo and Mitch Margo sang "Ooh Wah Ooh Ooh." Okay,
Why must I be a
that's
teenager in love?
and it sounded good. So we said maybe we have something here, and we started writing some stuff. And Hank was in a group called Daryl and the Oxfords that had a record out called "Picture in My Wallet." It was a local, it had some local exposure, but it wasn't a hit. It was on roulette. And the lead singer of that group was Jay Siegel. So Hank, we needed a lead singer. So Hank brought Jay over to sing with us, to sing some of the songs we were writing. We wrote a song called "A Pretty Kitty." We wrote a song called "Please Write." And we chipped in and we did it for $60. We did a couple of demos of those songs. And nobody raved and screamed or anything. But Jay said we should learn this song that the Weavers did called, I thought when Hank told me what to sing, it sounded like he was saying Howie Moe, right? Like a guy named Howie Moe, So I said Howie Moe, Howie Moe, And we sang the background parts. And Jay started singing the noodling. And it really sounded good. So we wrote another song in the meantime called, we had an idea for a song which started with Dom Doobie Dom, and it was called It's Imagination, but eventually it was called Tonight I Fell in Love. And it was another song that we had been working on. Now, Hank had gone into the city to pick up the demos that we had cut, because when you do a demo, they do it on single track tape, 1/4-inch single track tape, and then they make a dub of it, an acetate dub, which is called a dub, and it's like a record, except it's cut right there, and it's because it's a soft acetate that it's cut from, and those are the grooves of the record. Anyway, so he was coming home from that, picking up those records in the city, those dubs, and he was on the train, the Brighton Local or Brighton Express, and a woman, you could smell them. They had a particular odor from the freshly cut acetate. And she said, "Are those dubs?" And Hank said, "Yes." And so she said, well, her son is a producer, and they got into a conversation, and we wound up having a meeting with them, and they liked us, but they wanted us to finish Tonight I Fell in Love. In the meantime, we went into the studio again and did a demo on Howie Moe or Weemoe. It was just the vocal, no lyrics, but it had the feel. It's available on our website. If anyone wants to go to thetokens.com and the original demo, it's on the website. And it was just us playing and singing at the same time. And we went in and did the session for the 5 songs that we had written already. And one of them, Tonight I Fell in Love, turned out real well, and there was a deal made on it, and it came out, and it's made the charts, and it was like top 15. And we went to the guy at the record company and asked him if he would give us an advance. And he said, we're still in the red, you know. And how could a record be in the top 15 and be in the red? Well, you know, I had to give away a lot of them and I had made deals and this and that, you know. We didn't believe any of it. And since the contract was a non-binding because it was signed by a minor, our lawyer at the time sent our stuff to RCA because now we have a hit record on the charts. And
Yeah.
they sent the demo of Wimoweh as well.
What was it? Was the title of this? Was the title of the record "Wimoweh"? Not "The Lion Sleeps Tonight"?
No, it had no title. It was Wimoweh.
Wimoweh.
Yes, and it had the noodling and the background and the hey up boy, all of that stuff. It had all of it in it. We played a bongo drums, you know, and it was an organ, you know, and we made a demo. And people can hear it on our website, thetokens.com. At any rate, they were going to write a lyric to it. They called the African consulate and this and that and tried to, and we did 2 recording sessions and they had never written the lyric. Finally, we had one more session to go. We had 2 records out on RCA and they were both lead records, you know, nothing thrilling, nothing a hit. And so we had one more session to do on July 27th at RCA Studios on 24th Street in Manhattan. And we were supposed to be given a lyric, but we were never given a lyric. So now we get to the studio and they hand us this lyric. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet, you know, the lyric of the song.
By the way, who wrote those lyrics?
They were written by Hugo and Luigi and George Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started running it down, and Sammy Lowe did the charts, and the orchestra was like completely from everywhere. You know, there were Black musicians, there were Hispanic musicians, you know, it was like Jewish guys, us Jewish guys singing, you know. And we did a take, and Anita Darian was singing the soprano part, and we did a take, and we found that if we did the noodling, you know, I can't sing that, but did the noodling, and then we did the lyric with the same melody, which is what they prescribed, it was boring. So we sat down at the piano, and I was at the piano, and we recreated for the lyric a different melody. Instead of in the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. It went in the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
Yeah,
in the jungle, the quiet jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. We, oh my boy. So it made it different from the other part of the song.
It was a different arrangement.
Right. Well, it was a different vocal melody, right? And at the same time, Anita Darian was talking to Sammy Lowe, who wrote the soprano part, and he felt the soprano part just kind of laid in there. So she said, I can do it an octave higher. I could do it 8 VA, an octave higher. Yeah. And so Sammy said, great. And that was very important too, because that gave it that very mystical quality. That soprano voice in the background, it gave it that wonderful jungly flavor.
You know? I always thought that was the falsetto, a guy doing that number.
No, that was a soprano. I mean, she was a very successful singer. You know, she did a lot of Astra dates, and she performed in a lot of other records. You know, she did groups and after groups and other records, mm-hmm. And so she got it right, and we did that new melody, and that worked, you know. And so we finished this record, and it was and we had to overdub 1-to-1 because there was no 2-track. It was on 1 track, you know. So what they do is they play it, and they play it over, and we sing it to another tape. You know what I mean? to give,
Yeah.
to give it some, to give the double voice feeling and the wider harmony.
Well, I would consider give it depth.
Yes, fine. That's one way to do it. Say it. Yes. So we record the thing and we like it. We think it's really a good piece of work, but we didn't think it was commercial because all the songs at the time were all "I love you, you love me." It was the market.
Or you left me for someone else, and
Teenage girls. The market was mainly teenage girls. So we didn't think this fit in anywhere. Now there was some odd folk music biting at Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Bob Dylan and other groups like that were doing things, and there were different groups, the Kingston Trio, they were doing that kind of stuff. But we still felt that we just had a hit with Tonight I Fell in Love, which is very much a doo-wop record. So we were kind of like legislating against releasing it, right, as a single. We did. We loved it. We didn't miss the art of it, but we didn't think it was, and it would have and was going to be our last record on RCA. If it wasn't a hit, we were done.
you were history.
That's right. So RCA disagrees with us. They say, no, we think this is the record to release, and we're going to release it. But what they did when they released it was they plugged the other side, which was a Portuguese folk song called Tina, and I remember we were on the George Washington Bridge. I was in my friend Eddie's car, and they played. Murray the K used to have, during the week, he would play new records, and at the end of the week, they'd vote for the one they liked the best.
Yeah.
The kids would call in and vote. Well, they played Tina. They didn't play The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and of course it didn't. It was just a folk song. It wasn't nothing. It was just a B-side. So we thought, well, I guess this is not going to make it. I felt, after I got into Jersey over the bridge, I said, oh, there goes my career. I'm going to go back to Wall Street, but fortunately, a DJ in Worcester, Massachusetts, Dick Smith, his name was Dick Smith, I'll never forget, turned the record over and played it one time on the air, one time. From that airplay, Boston ordered 10,000 records from RCA.
Wow.
Okay. And so they knew, and he said the phones lit up like crazy. What was that? Who did that? Where did it come from? What? And then he started giving it regular play, He put it on the schedule and he gave it regular rotation. And of course, it busted wide open in New England. And then other stations in the country started seeing the power of it, and it busted wide open in California, and it was a monster record.
It reminds me a little of the Richie Valens single that he put out. On one side was Donna. Oh, Donna.
Right.
Donna was her name, which was a big hit for him. But on the flip side was La Bamba.
Right, which became a standard as well.
Right.
That version of La Bamba was so real, and it was real. That was him. You could hear where they were talking while they were making the take.
Yeah.
Well,
that was like a soul music for him. The Latino soul.
Right. Well, it was terrific, and we wound up doing it. We did it on our Esta Noche album. We did La Bamba in a real big way, but with the same feel and the same guitar solo and the same guitar riff. So we were very proud of that when we did that. And so 60 years ago, we recorded the song. The history of it is there to see. It's still, yesterday I had my grandson go to all of the Facebook requests that I had, which was like hundreds of them, 600-700, and answered everybody. And I got Facebook, and I talked about the show. I talked about what we're doing about this show today.
Oh, great.
So I put it out there, And we'll see what happens. But I'm still getting like all kinds of people want me to be their friend, and I'm hearing from people that I haven't heard from in years. And there are some people that requested a friend thing 9 years ago.
Hmm.
And because I never got involved with Facebook.
Yeah, but now get involved, because now the way we promote this show is a social media.
Right. And
This
so
is
that's why I did that.
Yeah, underground advertising.
In my email, I have like 30 or 40 Facebook things that I have to
Yeah.
answer. And, I mean, a lot of people commented on it. I signed up with all the doo-wop organizations, at least now they know that we're doing this.
Right,
And,
yeah, to tell them it's all malcolmpresents.com, Phil
so,
Margo, The Lion
yeah,
Roars.
it's on my Facebook
Yeah.
page. It's one, okay, and it's on all the Facebook pages that I sent it to. All of the doo-wop groups,
Yeah.
doo-wop group things. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But
because they can get all your past shows talking about your history. Actually, they can also get your political shows, by the way.
what?
They can get the shows that were in politics, because the name of the show that we have is Phil Margo, The Lion Roars.
Right.
Because what you're roaring about was what's happened
Well,
last year.
I mean, I stagger at what's going on. I can't even.
Yeah.
I don't even watch the news anymore. I just can't. I grab little bits of it in the newspapers, but it's just. I mean, we're ramping up. We're getting more virus because people are not getting a vaccine. Because why? And there people are dying and getting the virus who haven't been vaccinated, and these people still don't understand what's going on.
Okay,
They're
let's
listening to an idiot, but that's not this show.
That's not this. This show is, when did you realize that?
Oh, well, what happened with it? Yes, of course. Well, so it jumped on the charts at 79, the national charts. In 4 weeks, it was #1.
Wow.
My friend Larry Crystal called me up. He worked at Cashbox, and he said, #1 next week. So it took 4 weeks. Once it broke, it took 4 weeks to be the #1 record. But we didn't have anywhere to work. You see, like if we have a hit like that today, we're doing Dodger Stadium. Here there was nowhere to work. We were a doo-wop group, but now we have this really wonderful odd hit, right? So that's what got us into it. And as a result of the Lion Sleeps Tonight and the fact that the industry knew we were very much a part of how that record got made production-wise, I mean, our demo that we made laid out the record. Of course, Sammy Lowe did an amazing job on the da 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 da. He just using the soprano sax and all of that. And
So who are the musicians on that? Who is part of the original group?
Who are the musicians?
Yeah, that played on the Lion Sleeps Tonight.
There were studio guys. I don't, we didn't play on it.
Oh, all you did was sing on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We were a vocal group. We weren't a band yet. We didn't become a band until we found that when we finally did get some gigs, the bands couldn't play our stuff. It was like, so we decided to learn. That's how we decided to learn how to play instruments ourselves. And then when that happened, when we had the Chiffons come in, when the Chiffons came in to audition for us, we had already blown our budget at Capitol for recordings. We had no budget for musicians or arrangers. We did have some studio time left. So we went into the studio and played ourselves. And He's So Fine is us playing the instruments. That's me on the drums. And that record would never have been the record it was if it was had regular musicians. If it had regular charts, it would have been a whole different record.
Oh,
The record we made was like happening right then. You know what I mean? It was spontaneous.
Yeah.
I mean, even to the fact that I counted off, we had chord charts, right? And I was playing the drums.
yeah.
I counted off 1, 2, 3, 4, bop, do. We played the opening 8 bars just with the instruments, and then it goes bop. He's so fine, do lang, do lang, do lang. So the technician and the engineer said, "No, hold up, wait. Why don't you start with that?" So we said, "Okay, girls, you got that? I'll give you a count off and you start. Bop, do, lang, do." And that was the record.
That was it. Yeah, because when I went to see you guys in concerts, the Tokens in concert, which probably was within the last, 10, 15 years, I've seen several other concerts, you guys were playing instruments.
Yes, well, we were playing instruments from back then. We started playing instruments in the 60s, 61, 62.
But I didn't realize the original record of The Lion Sleeps Tonight, A Whim Away, was basically you were just the vocals, you were just the singing group and not the musician.
We didn't play any. I mean, they use a lot of the stuff that we created for it, the feel for it, But yes,
Curiosity, do the studio musicians, do they get royalties from the record?
they do get a certain. I don't know how it works now. They get a pension, but there is a fund now where it came later, not at that time, that the record companies put in some money, to the musicians.
Yeah,
and I mean, back then, artists didn't get played as artists, didn't get royalties like publishers did. Publishers got royalties for their songs. The artists got nothing for airplay, but now they do.
Wow.
They do get stuff, not necessarily radio play, but for exposure on the internet and all of that stuff. There is I remember it's an outfit called Sound Exchange, where when we signed up, we would get maybe $25 every quarter, and it got up to thousands.
Yeah.
It got up to thousands.
Well, I remember years. I remember years ago where, as I said, when I was selling time for radio, there were restaurants that used to play songs on recorded songs, not on the radio, but they had a tape, and they had to pay royalties on that tape. They had to pay a certain amount, depending on how much they made, a certain amount of money to the union,
right,
for playing that music.
Yeah, but that was later.
Yeah, that was probably like about 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was way later. That changed later. And now, obviously, records are made in people's living rooms,
Oh yeah, well, people have their own studios.
So that, my own, this is my own studio right here.
Yeah.
Well,
this is me,
studio too.
Well, this is our own internet station now.
Yeah, we're doing, yeah. So we're a radio station. So that's how the Lion Sleeps Tonight came to be, and then, it tapered off, and then years later, I'm talking about in the 80s, all of a sudden there was this whole new thing about oldies again, and there was markets for all these groups that got better gigs in better places and more money, than we did when we started. When one of our first gigs was in a nightclub in Staten Island, where we had to dress. I mean, I've told this story. We had to dress in the beverage room, where they kept the beverages, and we're getting dressed. We're getting dressed. We have our pants down, and we're getting dressed. And all of a sudden, this young girl walks in. And she's a young girl. She goes to Hunter College, and she works as a stripper. So she undressed to dress to undress outside. So that ended my modesty, you know.
Yeah, and then you probably thought, can life get any better?
And yeah, I mean, I understood why George Burns stood in his dressing room in his shorts. You know, I mean, I know because it was ridiculous so I'm standing in my underwear. Well, who cares? She's undressing completely.
Well, as I say, talk to me and let me know. Tell me the first thing that pops up.
Yeah, it was interesting. And that was, I mean, but otherwise there were no places to work for us. We did a couple of colleges, but it was really hard because we weren't a folk group per se, but we learned folk songs so we could work colleges. But it did, the best work we had was when we were us, when we did what we did, when we did what the truth was, so.
Well, I loved you. I saw you in Beverly Hills, some small theater, and actually it was in Santa Monica, I believe. Off
Well,
of,
yeah, well,
yeah.
we didn't do the show in Beverly Hills this year. I think it was a question of new people came in, and the budget, what they paid us the last show we did is the whole budget for the whole year,
Oh.
So I think they just couldn't do it. So we'll see.
Well, I told you what I want to. When we had the show with Jay Leslie,
Yeah.
and I'm speaking to your cousin Jeff. I want to revitalize the Tokens, your group, and you do whole shows and book them in college
Well,
towns.
we can. I mean, we're capable of it. It's just a question of getting a place to be. We spoke to the city, and the cities, they did apologize. They said, we kind of fell through the crack.
Yeah. Well,
And
I'm talking to talk to. I work with promoters that do the large college venues, because I think I mentioned to you my one of my business associates years ago, a guy named Ken Roberts. That's where he made a fortune. He was the first one to book all these rock groups into colleges, into the college towns,
right.
Well, this was late 50s,
if
early 60s.
If I were booked into a college, if the Tokens got booked into a college, not only could we do a show, but we could also do a class. We could do a class of that music because we lived it.
Right.
So if we could actually be a guest at the music department,
Right.
and talk about the history that we made.
Well, that could be part of your show, because I liked in the show was not only music, is when you got out in the stage and did a monologue almost.
I mean, you could be done that way, but I wouldn't do it that way. I would go to the school, I would stay an extra day,
Yeah.
and I would go and go to the music classes and give a talk on that music, on the truth,
Again,
on what it was really like being there. How we made records, how we made Denise and cut 2 takes together. How we could have cut a quarter of a clarinet of a castanet beat to tighten up a record.
Yeah, because now it's totally different. As you say, you can do it now on a home little recorder.
Yeah, sure. And then we had to cut tape.
Well, just a story, I used to produce TV commercials. I used to, for an agency, Daniel and Charles, and we would shoot in 35 millimeter.
Right.
Have it reduced to 2-inch tape, videotape, to edit it.
Right.
And the 2-inch tape recorder would take like an entire wall.
Yeah, right.
And we would get into the editing room in about.
Wait, I'll show you. Yeah. For a minute. Here's an album we did. 4 sides in this.
The 2-inch tape.
Yep.
That took like
Impex 456. It's in reverse.
To edit that, we used to go to a special editing room. As I say, it was this huge tape. We had an engineer that would work it. It took like 10, 12 hours to edit a 30-second commercial.
When they made the third movie about the animal, the Eddie Murphy movies where he talks to the animals, Dr.
Doolittle.
Doolittle. They wanted to use The Lion Sleeps Tonight in one of the dream sequences that the girl had. And all I had, and they needed the original tape. And I brought this in, what I just showed.
Yeah.
I had that, it was on the original tape. And it was the shortened version of The Lion Sleeps Tonight, which didn't have the lyric in it, which worked much better for their
purposes, yeah.
Purposes, because it didn't confuse the dialogue. And they had one machine that could play this, but this was back, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, to continue my story, there was a commercial that I had to do. This was about 20, 25 years ago that I had to do. That was, all I had was videos and music, and I had no budget to put it together, or very little budget to do a 30-second commercial. But what I did, someone recommended this kid, and I literally was a kid, he was about 18, 19 years old. He had in his garage this little, editing machine, and I gave him all the, the elements. In 10 minutes, he had everything, and he had the pictures in, he had the videos in, he had the sound in, and I would say, okay, now I want, and he'd go, yes, next. And I didn't have time to think. He did it so fast.
Wow.
And I said, okay, now do this and that. He goes, okay. And I'm looking at him in amazement. And probably within about 45 minutes, we had a 30-second commercial.
Right.
It was amazing.
I had a whole world of commercials. We did 70 or 80 or 90 commercials, major ones, a lot of major ones, a lot of ones we wrote and produced.
Yeah. Well, I guess at again, we should do a show. We should get the music that the commercials that you made, and play some of the segments.
Luckily and fortunately, a lot of collectors collected them, and because all of our tapes disappeared, we had. But these collectors had a lot of them and were able to get a lot of them. And they made these collections of our commercials. So we still have all the commercials.
Well, yeah, it'd be fun to go over, a half-hour show just on commercials.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite story was with Brexit. We did a commercial. If you want body in your hair, said water isn't enough. Brexit. And so we played on the instruments, we did the thing, we did the commercial. They asked us to do a demo, so we did the demo, and we gave it to them, and they loved it, and they said, it's terrific. So we said, okay, well, what do you want us to do now? He said, well, now do the master. I said, okay, what do you want us to change? And they said, nothing. It's exactly, don't change anything, do it the same way. So I said, well, why can't we use what we did if it worked?
Yeah.
He said, that's the demo. Now we need the master. So I changed the boxes.
Under that note, Phil, our time is up.
Okay.
And
nice.
We will continue this next week. I want to find out how it is to be famous.
I don't know.
Well, we'll talk about that. But in the industry,
I'm not famous. I'm known, but I'm not famous.
And well, when they hear that you were part of the Tokens, you become famous, not as an individual.
Yeah, they say, yeah, that's cool, but they still, I very rarely get pointed out on the street. Somebody recognizes me.
Well, you will now, because now everybody sees your face on Facebook.
That happens. I don't object to it. It's just, I'm certainly got a lot of Facebook inquiries today.
Okay, kid. I will speak to you next week.
Happy day.
Bye. Phil out. Malcolm out.